Hey, what's happening? This is your host Tinto, and before we get started on this weekend's episode, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody that got me coffees, starting with the one and only Tichitire Bogus. Thank you for your contribution, and your comment there reads, keep them coming. The episodes have truly become a part of my weekly routine. And then heading over to Tino, thank you so much for your generous gift, and your comment there was famishing and thirsty. Thanks for the Cake for Peace episode. And last but not least, Kuvakidzana 54th. Oh man, thank you so much for your contribution. And your comment there reads, keep going, Tinto, the podcast is great. If you'd like to give to the podcast in a similar manner, please head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/feeling station and give as your spirit leads. Remember, there's nothing too small to support the podcast that you've grown to love. And if you'd like to look really hot and guys, I don't know if guys look hot or whatever it is that you look, head over to the Feeling Station on Instagram, which is Feeling STN. Drop me a DM, let me know your t-shirt size, your location, and I'll send it over to you. The pricing on that is so damn cheap. You guys will love it. With that out of the way, let's jump straight into this week's episode.
Is that a breakup? I think we have a situation right here.
On the Feeling Station.
Tinto.
Yo, what's happening?
I'm good. How are you?
No, I can't remember when I last looked at a clock and actually did a countdown for a guest. That means you're special, my friend. That means you are special.
Oh my God. I am so flattered.
How are you?
I'm okay. I can't complain. It's quite early over here. So
Welcome to the Feeling Station.
thank you.
For those who are listening to this podcast for the first time, it touches on breakup stories that people would like to talk about with a view to give you lessons from my guest's experience. And it's been doing exceptionally well for two main reasons. The first being, I do my best to keep my guests anonymous. And so today I'm giving you a name from the West African country of Nigeria.
Drums rolling.
Yeah, and the name that I have for you is Chioma. And
oh,
why is that an
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, we'll have that as a side conversation. And
Exactly.
interestingly for me, this was a relatively easy name to pick because I was following this program called Blue Therapy very closely.
Right.
And I don't know if you saw it where you are.
I did.
You did, right? And
There
so,
was so much talk about it. So I was like, okay, I might as well.
yeah, no, it was definitely worth indulging in, right?
Right. It was.
So that name Chioma means good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Do you generally feel like you're a person with good or bad luck? I know we're talking about a breakup, which is not really good luck, but outside of that, does luck favor you?
No, I would say luck favors me. I have had certain situations where people say, "Oh, you came in and then boom, this is happening." I'm like,
Oh.
"Yep, a good head it is."
Oh, nice. Yeah. So you have some good energy to you then,
Yes.
You spin good luck around you.
Oh, for sure.
So what are you calling the person that you're talking about today?
Okay, let's go with the C's then. So I'm gonna say Carl.
You're going to say Carl.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Is there any special
I would have
affiliation
said
to the name
I would have
Carl?
said Paul as well, just to
Oh
go with
yeah,
the
of course,
there.
to make it about. Do you know what? Please, can we do that? Can I ask you to do? Can we change that to Paul, please?
Oh boy. Okay. Yes.
Thanks.
Yes.
So this is about Paul and Chioma, yeah?
Yes, it is. This is so hilarious.
And part of the reason why the podcast again is doing really well is there are real life lessons that people learn from your experience today. So what would you like people who are listening to your episode to learn when they finish?
I have listened to, if not all, of your episodes. So I think there's been so much conversation about communication.
Yeah.
But I would like to take it up a notch. Communicate all you want, but if the other party does not understand, it's a waste of time.
Ooh. It's pretty
Yeah.
much like talking to a brick wall, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes, you're communicating, but the other person just does not, you both don't seem to be on the same page or does not understand or
Yeah.
thought they understood you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, at the end of the day, they
Wow.
quite didn't get the message.
It's going to be interesting how you navigate this situation. I'm going to be listening very carefully because that happens way too often and way too easily.
Exactly.
Where people think that they are great communicators and they're great listeners, but the reality is actually quite the opposite. Okay, have you got another lesson?
Yes, I do. I've got three. So the second one is do not predetermine the future of a relationship.
Ooh,
Yep. Allow yourself,
wow.
go with the flow, provided you guys are, on the same page or on the road to the same goal.
Yeah,
I feel like sometimes you already make up your mind that this must work.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so when certain challenges come, you're not actually seeing red flags.
yeah.
You're seeing it as a hurdle that you have to jump. So
Right.
you just, keep fighting and fighting, not realizing that, listen, just give this up.
That makes a lot of sense because you've predetermined in your head that this must work. So you do anything and
Exactly.
everything just to make that goal get met. Yeah, yeah. I like that.
Right,
That is
right.
really powerful. And you got a third one?
Yep. And then
Mm-hmm.
my last one is we all have bad sides.
Mm-hmm.
And so if your partner brings that out of you or you find yourself being that bad side of you,
Mm-hmm.
then at this point just work out because we've all got the tendencies to be manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody brings that out of you, it's either you call it out and fix it or you
Mm-hmm.
just realize, this is not for you. So for me, this lesson is for folks who are very self-aware of themselves because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sometimes folks are not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, in fact, I think I'd say most times, not some. Folks are not aware.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I became very conscious of character trait of mine only in my early to mid 30s. Something I was in denial for a long time. But then at that time, that's when I finally
Right.
said, okay, maybe this is a flaw. And it genuinely is a character flaw. So this self
Yeah.
awareness thing is not something that comes overnight. It took me, 34 years? So yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
it's not.
So I totally get it when you say those who are self aware, it's pretty much a blessing. And
Mm-hmm.
those who aren't, hey man, we all have a
Mm-hmm.
bad side that comes out. Dope.
Yep.
So let's get straight into it. Chioma, where did you meet Paul and why did you feel he's the guy for me?
Okay, so right out of school
Mm.
in my home country, when you're done with school,
Mm.
we kind of have like a 1 year, I would say, community service of some sort.
Yeah.
So this kind of took me to a very rural state,
Mm-hmm.
where I was teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that particular, I just did not want to mingle with anybody. I just knew it was going to be for 1 year.
Mm.
And, afterwards I'll be out of there back to my life and, move on. So I was very careful. I kind of had like a triangle where it's either work, home, or I would be away.
Why?
It was just a very rural place. Like nothing was happening. It's not even suburban. It was just a place where I didn't like it, but I was willing to adapt. I mean, it's 1 year. What could happen? Do what you gotta do and get out.
But you can't adapt if you're avoiding people, though.
No, I wasn't avoiding. It was just that I wasn't having very deep relationships. So whether it's friends or no matter the kind of relationship, I just knew it was for the time. No, I would walk up to somewhere, chat, have a very good conversation with folks, but I just knew that when I leave that place, it's not going to be that deep.
I see what you mean. So you weren't really looking for deep connections and lifelong friendships. It was just, hey, this is me. I'm Chioma. I'm in and I'm out.
Right,
Okay,
right. But then,
cool.
funny enough, years now after, I still have folks that, would just pop up once in a while. Hey, hi.
Yeah.
And then, but then it wasn't something that I was so fussed about if I didn't, talk to someone after a few months. So with that community service had a paramilitary camp of some sort. So we were very affiliated with the military. And so when you put on your uniform or you wore any attire, they recognize you.
Right.
So there was this military checkpoint right in front of the school that I was teaching. So on this Wednesday afternoon, usually when you stop by, you say hello to them. They stop either public transport or a personal ride, ask them if they're going your way, right? And they would just help you take a ride. So on this particular day, unlike the norm where the military guy would stop a car, this car was actually, somebody from the car was chatting with the military guy. And so he just turned and he said to me, "Are you going to the city?" I said, "Yes." So I popped into the car. We started going. But when I got into the car, there was somebody who was sleeping in the car. Now, that was Paul.
Okay.
So Paul wakes up to see me at the back of the car. And he's like, so we just start having a conversation. In the course of our conversation, we realized that we were from the same city.
Oh.
So that was more, I was like, huh? somebody from my city can come
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Like, that's like we all live in London and then we go to some remote area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you doing here?
Mm.
So he was like, oh, he came for work. He's been here for 5 months. And I was like, how have you been coping?
Yeah.
So so at that moment, we just formed, some sort of friendship because that was the first time I was meeting somebody from my city.
Mhm.
So I was talking to him about how, like, I don't know how I'm surviving, but I'm just coping, going with the flow. So we then, I think in like 10 minutes drive of the conversation, I gauged that he was a very intelligent guy. He knew what he was doing. He's pretty ambitious. We had some sort of like really great conversation. So then we exchanged contacts and that was it. So the next day we met up again. Don't remember, I was very careful. So as much as we come from the same city, I was still very careful. So he had reached out wanting us to hang out and I went there and he didn't show up on time. And me being the very like be on time,
Yeah.
1 minute after I'm gone, I just thought I just left.
Oh.
Because I was like, you invited me somewhere and you're late. So on my way out.
So you left after how long?
I think I was there for like 5 minutes or something.
Wow.
So on my way out, he caught up with me. I was like, well, you didn't tell me you were going to be late. So,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be out here too late and stuff like that. But anyway, that's just kind of how we met. And then a little background that I should tell you. So, prior to meeting Paul, I had a relationship where I got engaged. So, for me, leaving that relationship, I was not looking to meet anybody for any kind of any committed relationship. I wasn't in the space of meeting anyone for, a commitment.
How long was it between that breakup and meeting Paul?
I would say 4 months.
Yeah.
So it was still very
very fresh.
there. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So then Paul and I, we start talking, and then I would say we became friends with benefits.
How did that transition happen so quickly? Because for someone who's really trying to stick to themselves and they're not really trying to form strong bonds and connections like that, becoming friends with benefits.
I think at some point, we started talking, we started having conversations, and it just happened. Like, I took a liking to him. Also, he didn't talk about relationships. I'm one person that if you're going to turn the page, let's have a conversation.
Right. Okay.
And I put that out to say, listen, we should have a conversation. I'm not the one person that just because we had sex one time, you automatically get the title.
I see.
So I was very fixed on that. So we didn't have the conversation. Yes, we did enjoy each other's company. And besides, like, given that fact that we were in that bubble of just coming from the same city, just having that same, vibe, I would say, was one of the things that just made me very comfortable with him.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So one of the times, I don't know if this is like a side talk, but anyway, one of the times I heard him, in the bathroom, having a call with somebody. And I presume, of course, it was a girl. So he said to her, I think probably the girl that he was trying to talk to. And he was asking, hey, where do we stand? You need to give me an answer, blah, blah, blah. And in my head, I'm like, please don't come asking me out. Don't say, don't have this conversation because you won't come ask me out. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
But anyway, that happened. And I was waiting for the conversation. It did not happen. So one day, I think we met around September. So by December, we're just sitting down and he was planning to go to the city that we live. And he said to me that, he's going for a wedding. That was what was in my head. I was like, okay, so when are you coming back? In a couple of days after.
Yeah.
I said, okay. But then he was packing everything this morning and I was like, what's up? You're literally packing your entire stuff. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I don't think I'm coming back. And I'm like,
okay.
What?
I mean, like, how?
Yeah. I'm like, what?
One sec, you're like, you're coming back after a few days, and the next you're like, you're not coming back. You're like, what's going on?
I'm not coming back. I said, okay, so, but you should have told me. That's what I said. But a part of my head is like, you're not even a girlfriend. This was very fluid. Why you bothered?
Wow.
So, I just conducted myself. I just said, okay, I should go. So I picked up my stuff and left. Leaving, I deleted his number. And he kind of saw that I had that change. I became very, straight faced.
Mm-hmm.
So he called me and he said, "Oh, I have arrived, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure. Take care." He's like, "Can he call me later?" I'm like, "Feel free." So I was very, straight, not even showing any kind of emotion. Later on, a few days later, he said to me, "Listen, I wasn't sure where exactly your mind was at. I didn't know if you liked me or you did not like me. So I had to play this trick to see whether you were gonna feel, just to see how you're going to react."
Excuse me.
And
Are you like a social experiment or something? I mean,
I'm like, really?
I mean, I know
Okay.
this episode here is about Paul and Chioma, and they claim it was a social experiment. Yeah, but come on, dude. Who
I'm like,
who does
are you
that?
serious? Are you serious right now? And then he comes up with a whole conversation about dating. So I said no. I said, I am not ready for a relationship. I don't want to bore you with, my own life and what's going on with me right now, but
Yeah.
I am not interested in dating.
Yeah.
That being said, we still kept in touch. We're still being friends. I think he tried asking me out again at this point. I then opened up and told him where I was at, the decision, why I made that decision not to date. But then there wasn't really anybody anyway. So he just acclaimed himself as my boyfriend. He said, "Listen, I don't care what you have to tell me, but as far as I'm concerned, you're my girlfriend because I'm not even seeing
Come on,
anybody
Paul.
around you." So anyway,
Wow.
we just kept the friendship going. I think at some point I even introduced him to my family. We had a get together at home. So I said to him, "Hey, there's something going on." By this time I have moved back to the city as well. So I said, "There's something going on at home. If you want to stop by, if you don't mind."
So
I'm not saying.
So what did you introduce him as? Who was
a friend.
A friend.
I just said a friend. Yeah. My parents are my mom is very, I should say, liberal of some sort. She doesn't, for her, you can, we're five at home, well, 5 girls. So for her, she knows for sure that there are going to be guys who would, be talking to her daughters.
Yeah.
You can come all you want, like to my house, all the number of times you want. But if you don't really say what your intention is, you're as good as just a guest.
Okay.
So that's her mentality. So for her, she wasn't concerned. He came, I introduced him to the family, and, he pretty much was just that friend who just shows up, that we knew his name, Paul, and everyone just knew him. So that's how it was. As a matter of fact, my mom asked me at some point to say, "Hey, what's up?" I said, "No." So, First Track now, I've relocated from my home country to where I am currently. I was thinking that when I move out here, I'm going to be, by that time, I'm ready for a relationship. I'm ready to meet someone. But I got so involved with my education at the time, and I wasn't really meeting people that I quite liked.
Yeah.
But Paul was still there in the picture. We would not talk. At least we'd talk at least once every maybe 3 months.
Oh.
And when we did, we would catch up on like everything. So the bond was there. The friendship was still there. And so at this point, he says to me, "Listen, I've been hanging in by this time. This is about maybe 18 months or 2 years." And he said to me, "Listen, I'm just going to put it out there. I still have feelings, blah, blah, blah." And so at this point, I'm like, okay, I think I should give him a try. So then we started dating.
Did you say you must be mature?
No, I said I should give it a try.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What convinced you? Were you guys in the same country?
No, we weren't. So by this time, I'm in the country that I am right now, and he was still in my home country.
So, so if you weren't ready to do something with no distance issues, why were you going to risk it with something long distance? I'm trying to understand what made you say okay to it now that you're away, other than you saying okay to it when you were closer.
When I was closer, I was still getting over my engagement that didn't work.
Yeah.
I was still hurting from that. I was, and then again, for me, I had a rule, and I still do. A guy who's under 30, I would not also date.
Okay.
At the time. So then, funny enough, at this year, he was asking me out. He had just turned 30 then.
Smart guy.
The maturity was also there. Like a
Mm-hmm.
lot had changed from the conversation when we met
Yeah.
to now that we were dating. And also the friendship was there. Like I wasn't just dating a guy that I was getting to know. I was going to be dating someone that I knew already
Okay.
as a friend. Distance has never been a problem for me. So that for me wasn't even a conversation at the time.
Right.
Funny enough, when this relationship started, he had moved a little bit halfway to where I was. He was on an assignment for work. So it wasn't even a problem at that time when we started dating because the trips making a trip was just a matter of just 8 hours and you get there.
Yeah.
And you know I'm a traveler, so
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know that.
It was
I know
no
that.
big deal.
I know that for sure.
It was no big deal.
Yeah.
So when we eventually, we started dating, we met up, and so we had conversations about the relationship, what the expectation was. At the time I was still in school. So one of the things that we talked about was that when I finished school, started working, we were going to settle down. Because again, for me, given the fact that I was coming from that place of, I'm not willing, if I want to play, I'll tell you straight up, I want to play.
Yeah.
But if I'm serious and I want a relationship, it's commitment all the way. Like if you want to play, just keep playing. Just when you're ready, let me know. So we had conversations about where we're expecting the relationship to be. No timeline. So again, for me, I already knew that, like, remember what I was saying about predetermining? I already predetermined that this was it.
Oh, I see.
So this is like this is it. I'm not going to even look out for any distractions, shut distractions out as much as possible. And this is commitment from day one.
Is this something you had done in your previous relationship with the guy who you got engaged to say, when you guys started, this guy is the one?
No, it wasn't something
Okay.
I had done. No.
Cool.
That just ran on natural course. But for me now, given that experience from then I just knew that, listen, I'm not just going to be in a relationship for the sake of. So I then decided, so we started dating. Everything was going on very well, at least for the first 6 months. And then after 6 months, what happened? So he relocated back from the country he was working back to our home country. And so now I started seeing some patterns in terms of, we went from not talking every day to now talking maybe every other 3 days, to just the weekends. So I'm like, what's going? And again, remember, I'm working. So he would give me excuses like, sorry, I'm still in school. I've never really worked like a formal 9 to 5. So he would start telling me things like, you've never worked, so you don't understand. It's work. It's really stressful. A lot of things are going on, but then I wasn't really placing my head on, a lot of things. Then later on, something happened in his family. I think that his dad got kidnapped. So again, that was a very near-death experience.
Whoa.
But then I noticed that he just literally shut down.
Wow.
I didn't have of course, you wouldn't have the words if you haven't been in the person's shoes.
Of course, yeah.
However, I still expected that he would talk to me. He would open up, but then I just noticed he was just very shut, like closed-minded. And I gave him some time because people heal differently.
True.
And so I was always there, but then I now struggled, like, what exactly is going on? First of all, our communication has just gone to shit. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Our communication is just so horrible. You've told me that I don't understand because I'm not working, and I just took it for an answer. I became the one who was now very flexible. Being there to have a conversation whenever he was available, because whenever I wanted to talk, I couldn't reach him.
Right.
So there was just this communication was just becoming what I would now call dysfunctional. I would have to wait until the weekend, and not every weekend that we would have this conversation, like we would talk like a normal couple should. I also noticed that if I have to talk to him about something, I have to give him like a 3 days notice. And mind you, there's a time difference, which is about 5 or 6 hours.
What? That's
So
crazy.
I am literally staying up till maybe 12
Yeah.
because I know that it's going to be like 5, 6 a.m. where he will wake up for me to call. So different things were just going on. And I just wasn't like seeing that this was time for me to nip it in the bud.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I still kept on being patient.
And this is because you're predetermined that, the future of this relationship is this.
It must.
Okay.
So now I'm getting tired. I'm literally like dating and living single. I'm crying myself to sleep. Everyone is saying to me, listen, this is not, Chima, this does not make sense.
Yeah.
Walk away. Or better still, whenever, date someone over here, when you go back home, figure that out. And I'm like, I can't do it. If I put my mind to one person, that's it.
Yeah.
So now I come. So again, don't forget now again, when I start talking to him, I'm getting so defensive. I'm becoming an angry person because times when I want to talk to him, he's not available.
Right.
There are times when something is happening to me, I want to share it. I'm not getting him.
Yeah.
I'm becoming so pissed off easily. Like my emotions was just very messed up where he was concerned. And then he's also playing victim. Every time I talk to you, it's one argument to another. We're just fighting. I can't deal with that. Blah, blah, blah. So, sorry, I'm using a lot of blah, blah, blah.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I get it.
So anyway, we now get to that point where it's always so heated. So then I decide, okay, you know what? I think I'm just gonna walk away. So and Paul is a very, very smart guy. He can tell when you're about to pull that plug.
Yeah.
So I decided I said to him, listen, I don't know what's going on with you, but if this is just because you're working, listen, life is I also started working. So I think where the conflict also started happening was I finished school, got a job, started working, realized that, listen, everybody has 24 hours. You can spend 2 minutes to say, hey, how are you? You would have lunch breaks. Like you can have conversations if you want to.
Yeah.
So now all of this is no longer making sense to me. So I said to him, listen, I don't know what's going on with you, but if you think this phase of your life right now, you have to focus on your career, then probably you should go ahead and do that. Because work is always going to be there. You have to figure out how to make life balance.
True.
Relationship will be there. So one side cannot suffer because you've got a job. Like, I get it. You want to be that employee of the year, perhaps, but our relationship is suffering. So you have to like figure out yourself and let me know. So at that point, I broke up. Tinto, the next 3 weeks was like calling, checking up. He was just being that ideal boyfriend that you have been talking about for someone to be and complaining about and being there. So I felt, okay, maybe now he gets the message. So we got back. So now we got back. Things just became a little bit okay for like 3 months. And then the communication pattern, started again. So I remember this time where I was planning to go home. So I said to him, listen, I have plans to come home. So perhaps we should plan something. Let me know so I can build my itinerary because my mom and I are very close. Yeah. So if the moment I tell her that I'm coming home, she would build my itinerary for me. She would just employ herself as my personal assistant. So I have to tell her that these days and these days I'm not available. If not, she's just gonna run with it.
Right.
So I kept pushing about that even before I informed my folks that I was coming. So eventually I arrive. I get to my home country. I'm like, so he comes to pick me up from the airport. We meet up and I'm like, okay, so what's the plan? And then I start hearing, I just got into a new department. I can't book vacation. I'm like, what?
What?
I'm like, so what's going to happen now? Because I have blocked like 3 days thinking that you had, planned something. I told you this like 7 months out. So what's happening?
Yeah.
And he says to me, oh, I just moved. which he had just moved from his old residence to a new place, which I wasn't so fussed about because I said moving is very expensive, right?
Yeah.
And I said, there's no point. There's no need for you to relocate. Like, don't move. It's okay. Just don't do it because I'm coming. He's like, nope, I really wanted you to see my new place, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, but what exactly is going on? So because I was making so much a fuss about, we talked about this like for a very long time. You should have had this planned out. If you had planned your vacation before moving to a new department, no one is going to tell you to give that up. It's already booked.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got into another argument about that. And now my 3 days, my mom is like, so what's up? When are you leaving? I'm like, yeah, mom, I decided to cancel. It's not going to happen anymore. Because I had given her this whole wedding excuse that I was going to leave town. I'm like, nope, I just changed my mind. It's too far. I'm just going to spend time with you.
Wow.
So we decided. So that was it. And I think at this point, I told you, I'm not religious, but I'm quite spiritual. So I just said, just murmured in my heart somehow and just said, God, if this is supposed to be, just, show me a sign. Well, the devil can also show you a sign. So we had a Thanksgiving in church, one of the weekends that I was around. And prior to this weekend, we were not talking. So he called me on that Sunday. We hadn't been talking, calls me on that Sunday morning to say, hey, he was coming to my church. So I sent him the address. He hadn't met my dad before. So now, I have missed a very integral part. So prior to me coming home, my parents had come to visit. And you know how it is. Like, you're already in your 20s. Your parents are like, hey, what's up? And then I had to sit them down and say, listen, not that I'm not planning to get married. Of course, I have that in my itinerary. But okay, there is someone. My dad is like, okay, where is he? I said, he's back home. He's like, okay, when are we meeting him? I said, that's the problem. The fact that you guys are going to speed things up for me, I just wanted to go at my own pace.
Yeah. You don't want to be pressured into it.
Yeah. So now on this trip, I knew for sure that he was going to meet my folks, but not on that seriousness kind of like, we're getting married tomorrow kind of conversation. So now I'm back home, right? So now fast forward, now I'm home. So that Sunday, he was going to meet my folks. The plan was after church, we go home for lunch. He finally shows up and then he tells me that he has to leave right after because he needs to take his mom somewhere. And I'm like, okay. So when are you showing up again? Well, he ended up meeting my dad, just in passing. They had a conversation and then he left. So when he left, prior to leaving, I said, we need to talk because this just feels like there's just too much going on. And at this point, remember, I now have a full-time job. I'm expecting some sort of like a lip in this relationship.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem to be the case. So I later on, so now he left and my dad was out just asking me questions and all that. And parents kind of see these things up front.
Yeah.
He didn't seem to be, he had a conversation with him as well, but he didn't seem to kind of lean towards him that much. And he just said, okay, let's just see how it goes. When is he coming back again? Well, I didn't have this answer in my head because, again, the communication was just very whack. He had an attitude of when he wanted something, he wanted it right away. So now he finally created time for us to meet up. And he just called me 2 days prior. I said, what? You just expect me to create time? Well, of course, Chioma did. She's very flexible.
Right.
So I created the time. And so this time around, we had the chance to talk. So I said to him, there's just been a lot of fighting. We are arguing every single time. And you're just having a problem with creating time in the relationship.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now, mind you, this is distant. The only thing we have is communication. It's not like we can see each other every weekend or every other weekend. So if you're not...
So that makes communication really, really important because it's literally all you have. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you're not communicating, this is not the case of you're a bad communicator. You're online, you always have he's very tech savvy. So the phone is not a thing that he doesn't always have with him. If the phone is not working, there's Skype. So there's so many things. And when prior to dating, this communication was not a problem. You didn't have a problem reaching out to me, calling me. Yes, I know we're not talking every time, but I mean, that was understandable. We were friends. But now we're dating. You need to, beef up on your communication a lot. So you need to tell me where exactly we are at so that I know what I'm doing, especially when I go back. Because I don't want to be in a space where I believe that we're in a relationship, but it doesn't feel like it.
Right. Yeah.
I got the most unexpected response.
What did Paul say?
He said to me, listen, I don't know why you're stressing yourself. I love you. You love me. That's the ultimate thing. People date for 10 years and don't get married. Others date for 6 months and get married.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you trying to say? Are we going to date for, and this is already
years.
like 2 years down. I said, well, you're not even going to date me for 5 if there is no, if this keeps going, if this is going to be the pattern. I need to see more from you. I cannot seem to in fact, the way the relationship was going it was his job first, then every other person.
Wow.
And then also another thing too that I have skipped. So you remember I brought him to my family, right?
Yes.
So he's relating to all my siblings. My mom, everybody. Paul is a name that everyone knows. But that was not the case on his own side. I said on this trip, I was expecting that at least I should have met your parents, even if it's not as, I'm not saying as a wife.
Yes.
But just as the way things are on my own side, I was expecting that I should have met your parents or even your siblings. I had only met the brother. And there was a situation where the brother was planning to come to the country where I was, and he gave me his contact. So I just took that on as I'm helping a sibling to my boyfriend.
Yeah,
but then we had an incident where I called his brother without his knowledge. So I was supposed, according to him, to take permission from him before calling his brother.
Wow, Paul.
Yeah. So I said, that's the dynamics I'm seeing with you, with how you play me with your family.
Yeah.
And you have kind of crossed the bridge because I got so pissed that I deleted the guy's number from my phone.
Hey.
I'm like, I'm not going to have your brother's number on my phone if I have to take permission from you before I call your sibling.
I mean, but what kind of hierarchy system was he trying to set up? That is really strange.
Like, when you have the leeway to call my mom, my sisters, out of the blues, I may not even know. They may be the one to call me and say, hey, by the way, Paul called.
Yeah.
So you cannot operate on that scenario with me. So he was just trying to say, listen, I just expected you to have told me first that you were going to call him before calling him. And eventually I said, well, I'm not surprised that he didn't get the whole, because I took myself out of the process. He didn't end up getting the visa. He got admission, but he didn't get the visa.
Right.
I said that was on you because you caused that. I could have taken that on and ran it as if it were my own. So anyway, when he told me that whole thing of people date for 10 years and don't get married, others date for 6 months and end up getting married, I was like, what are you trying to say? And he was just mumbling words and saying, no, what I'm trying to say is that you should relax. When I'm ready, it's going to be you. Rather than me trying to seek for, further explanation, I just took that and I kept quiet. So I returned back. Trip is over. I come back to my home, to where I'm based now. And, I'm just like, what exactly is going on? So I talked about the communication bit of things.
Yeah.
We promised that it was going to be fixed. So I come back. Everything is going on well. And, now I start asking friends, that thing where you say, hey, this is not about me. This is about my friend. I just want to see what your head is at. So I start telling some of my very older friends my scenario, my situation. And then I say to them, yeah, so when I try to tell him about, hey, where we at, we need to move this up. I thought you said when I start working, is going to be us settling down and blah, blah, blah. And then I say to them, by the way, so he tells me, his response to me is, people can date for 10 years and not get married. Others date for 6 months and end up getting married. Everyone is saying to me, girl, you're single.
Yeah.
Everyone is saying to me, tell your friend that is not a relationship. She should just keep moving. So I'm just worried. And then again, my mom, who is my very good friend as well, could not even tell me to her face. She called me and she said, Chioma, I'm not going to lie to you, but I don't think this guy is ready for the person that you are right now.
Absolutely.
I think he has a lot on the go. You have to let it go. When he's ready, as she said to me, you don't force these things.
Yeah.
When a guy's ready, he's ready.
Yeah.
So you cannot keep making him tell you where you guys are at and things like that. It's just like he wouldn't even have to be asked. He's just going to bring the conversation, but you're pushing the conversation because you just want him to get to where you want to be at.
And
so she said to me,
and this is that lesson where you've predetermined the future of the relationship.
Exactly.
Okay.
So she just said to me, let it go. I am still holding on to it. I'm still like, again, what I now noticed too was he would tell me he doesn't have time. But Tinto, if there was a fight, if we had an argument, we can argue for 3 hours on WhatsApp. We can argue with voice notes.
Wow.
We would. So now I now realize that I was now becoming very manipulative. When we're on good terms, communication is whack. But when we quarrel, then it's a 3-hour conversation. So then I would now decide to like take some things overreact on certain things because I know that that's going to like stir up the pot and he's not going to drop it.
Wow.
So then we were now communicating through fighting.
I
so
see. Hey,
imagine the toxicity.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so we would always have that time to talk when there is a fight. So now so the year is now winding down. I'm at that point where I'm literally just evaluating everything that's going on around me. I had stopped pushing for communication. If we don't talk in 3 weeks, that's fine. I was good. I wasn't bothered anymore. I just stopped pushing. So one particular time, this is close to the Christmas of that year, he calls me. And we're just talking. Now he's now the one who's calling more often because he's realized that Chioma is done. She's not even pushing anymore. So I say to him, I said, listen, the year is coming. So no, he had the way of having very strategic kind of conversations where he's like, so what's the plan? What's going on with you? I said, well, the year is coming to an end and I'm going to be evaluating everybody in my life. What I am to people and what they are to me. Oh, he got the message real quick.
Yeah.
Because he knew that I was done. And he was like, what does that mean? I think I'm affected by that. I said,
of course
I don't
you
know.
are.
I'm just gonna, everybody, including my friends, my parents, my family. I'm evaluating my relationship with every single person. So we decide. So then I said, yeah, so by the beginning of this year, everybody's going to get their report card. So my birthday is right at the beginning, I think around the beginning of the year. So it was my birthday and I get the surprise basket at my door. And it came from him.
Okay.
And these were initiatives that if you had done when we were dating, like when I was crazy in love with you, like, oh my God, I'll be rolling. He placed this order from my country and my home country, and then it arrived just in time for my birthday.
Nice.
So I picked it up, sent him a video that I had got it, but I could not find any muscle to smile. I just said, yeah, I got it. Thanks. And that was it. And he's like, that's the coldest you've ever been to me. I said, yeah, it is, because I feel like at this point, I have just been hurt so emotionally, mentally, that I don't have the energy anymore to tolerate anything. Like, wow. I've lost it. I just don't know where to find it anymore to just accept you and feel like you mean well. So at that point, that was when we broke up. And I said, listen, I'm done. It didn't end there. He kept calling and calling and being that sweet person, now checking up. So the breaking up was always that reset button for him to start spending more time and being there and having communicating and checking up on me and being that person who, oh, I know you so well. You know, we've been through a lot. We can't just throw this away. We had plans. We this, we that. I'm just like, nope, it's not gonna work. So at this point, we just become more very. I think there was a time we weren't talking, but we just became more very passive friends, I would say.
Yeah.
And also one of the things when we're dating was with the reaction my mom had about him. So I kept on pushing that. I started telling him, listen, maybe you should talk to mom more often. Reach out to her, check up on her. You guys live in the same city.
Yeah.
But he wasn't doing that. Now that I had broken up, he started calling my mom.
Oh,
my mom was like, hey, what's up? Paul is
Okay.
calling me and telling me he wants to come see me, that he
Right.
needs to discuss about Chioma, like he needs to discuss about me. I'm like, what? And then I would reach out to him and say, what are you going to meet my mom for? And he denied it. He said, no, I just want to reach out. I just wanted to check up on her and things like that. And I'm like, okay, since you're not going to come forward with the truth, unless someone is telling me the truth. So I wasn't pushing it.
Yeah.
So about a year of constant reaching out and wanting us back, and at some point resolved to being friends and all of that. We so I started listening to him. I started giving him an ear. I'm like, well, I've pushed this guy out so many times and he's not going. And also I tried to meet people over here and I just wasn't not what I really want, not what I wanted. So in that moment of just choosing to be on my own, I subconsciously, I would take it. I was also giving him an ear.
Right.
So now I start opening up again. But I said to him, you're going to be the one to do most of the work. But then, you know, being self-aware, like you said, comes with a lot of maturity. Now I become so aware of things going on. So there was this particular weekend where it started with the whole, he would always call me. This time I didn't notice. But then on a Monday, I was like, oh, Paul hasn't called. He always calls. So I'm like, so now I sent him a 2 minutes, I have to emphasize, a 2 minutes voice note. I said, hey.
But why the emphasis on 2 minutes?
No, you would get the message. Just hold on.
Okay.
So I said to him, listen, we've talked about this whole communication thing that you're not going to, prior to me sending the voice note, I had said to him, I'm sensing that you're being distant and I don't know why. So maybe perhaps you should let me know what's going on. Oh no, it's just work. I said, okay, I dropped it. So now this weekend when the same thing happened is when I sent the 2 minutes voice note saying to him, we've been through this road before. I am not going to even like the little thing as the P in patience. I'm not even going to take it. So you better let me know what's going on with you. I went to bed. Tinto, I woke up to a 30 minutes voice note.
Yo!
That's why I said 2 minutes.
Wow. And then I was busy thinking 2 minutes is long.
I woke up to a 30 minutes voice note.
Wow.
And what did he say to me? I know we've run out of time. I'm going to be fast about this. And so he says to me that he's been thinking, and he's really, really scared. Like he's scared to death. That was the word. That he feels that when he is in a financial, he feels like if we're together, and if he's in a financial struggle of some sort, that I am not amongst the first 5 people whom he would call to ask for assistance.
Okay.
And that he feels that that's a problem for him, that he just feels like I should be that person that's like a safety cushion for him, where if he's going through problems, I should be that person to be there for him.
So this guy wants you to be someone to bail him out financially when he's not willing to loosen up and communicate just about being open to talk in general.
So I did not say a word. I felt like, okay, I don't want to overreact. So I flipped the voice note to my sister. were very close. I said to her, please, I beg you, help me. I sent her my voice note. I sent her the response. If you tell me that I did something wrong, I will apologize. But if I didn't do anything wrong, just let me know. Like,
Yeah.
please be the judge of this.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I have to say, so when I talked about him, the problem of communication, he did make me understand that, well, when he's going through stuff, he doesn't really want to open up. He wants to be the person to fix it. He's the kind of person who just wants to fix it. I'm like, yeah, but talk to me. I may not have the solution, but I may have another suggestion to help you out with the solution. Well, that feedback became something that was surgical, where when he was going through like a financial stuff where he needed like £2,000, for example, he would just, that's the conversation. I need £2,000. Well, I don't have that. So I would tell him straight up, I don't have it.
Yeah, and
so
that,
it just became,
and that's a lot of money. It doesn't grow on trees,
Yeah, exactly. So he would always come with requests as opposed to telling me what he's going through. That was how he responded to my feedback. So I'm telling you to talk to me when you have problems, but now you're turning me into the the provider of
Yeah.
which is funny because now we're talking about Paul, but turning into this person who's supposed to just solve your problems every time. And that wasn't the case. So when he came to me in that regard, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have it.
Yeah.
So I had to even like reevaluate that. I'm like, I'm not your cash cow. Like that was how it was now coming out as. So my sister says to me, listen, the only thing I'm hearing in this voice note is finance.
Yep.
But if you wanted to talk to me about, okay, let's have conversation about finances as a couple, you should have said to me, you want to talk about finances, and then we have a conversation on how things should be. Like this is not even a relationship. This is something that we're still trying to see if it can work. So I think for me, listening to that voice note was just what cemented everything, where I just said, nah, this
really isn't your cup of tea.
Yeah, we're very, very different. Like this is not gonna work. So at the end of the day, when I heard that voice note, I think I just broke down in tears. I broke down not because that wasn't gonna work. I broke down because sometimes God takes you away from stuff and you still keep putting yourself back. So I just felt like this was just me, like everything, the universe, everything just saying, listen, throw this thing out. So that was just the point where I eventually said, you know what, I'm done. And so he just kept apologizing. Oh, I shouldn't have said it that way. I shouldn't have talked that way. And I said, no, boy, you meant every single thing you said on that voice note. Because when I got that voice note, I said to him, you better call me and tell me what you said on there, because I'm not going to listen to it. He said to me, go listen to the voice note. Severally. Wow. So that was when I went back and listened, because I was like, I'm not going to spend you have 30 minutes to spend, but you don't have 30 minutes to reach out to me. But then I went back, and that was just where I said to myself, listen, it's really not going to work. And I now had the conversation with him and said, you know what? I find that it has been manipulation all through. So I now opened up to him. I said, you feel you're smart. You feel that I feel like you're just so bent on having control and putting some sort of hierarchy around me. But the fact is, every time I have wanted you to do something, you've done it. If I need 2 hours from you, I know how to get it. If I need 5, I know how to get it. So at the end of the day, you have not quite been the one in control, right? You have just, I just needed to throw the bait and you always catch it. And he was so shocked. I'm like, yeah. So I cannot be in a relationship where I am being manipulative, where I'm walking my way around to get to you to do certain things. That's not healthy for me.
I mean, that was, you know what you described earlier on, what you had to do to get his engagement and his connection was just, I don't even know how to describe it.
Yep. Wow. So at the end of the day, talking to me about how, oh, you were so great. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I was being so vindictive, or, I was just being a kid. I later on, did this course that made me realize that I've been doing things the wrong way. I'm like, yeah, that's good. Well, your next will enjoy, but it's just not going to be me.
So when he realized that you were disengaged emotionally now, did he, I know you tried to get to your mom and stuff. When did the penny drop for him finally that, nah, she's like done? Because I'm not sure you actually said to him, "This is it. I'm done."
No, I
It,
think
it feels like you guys just faded.
when I got when the voice note thing
Yeah.
happened and he was apologizing, I did
Mhm.
say to him that, listen, I can't do this anymore, that I was done. But I still, after that incident, I went home again. So he came, though he suggested that he would come pick me up at the airport like the last time. My mom said, nope, I'm going to pick you up, because
Yeah.
now I've told her what happened,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So she said, nope, I'm going to pick you up. So he shows up at my house the next day trying to explain himself. And I'm like, let's not even go there. It's not going to, like, now for me, seeing him, having the conversation in person,
Mhm.
I just knew, and nothing. I didn't feel anything. I just
Yeah.
knew it wasn't going to work. He got his
Absolutely.
friends to talk to me. He decided, no, yeah, he got his friends to talk to me, got my sisters to talk to me, because he wouldn't even go to my mom at this time.
Mhm.
And then I just said to them, I said, nope, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. But I did not tell his friends the details. I just said to them that we've just grown past, we've grown over each other, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And then I think when I came back now, he tried to still be friendly, and I still nipped it in the butt with him and said, this is not a, how do I want to say it? Stop it, I like it. You know how
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you
this
mean.
is not a case of
Oh, stop it! I like it. You know, I
When I
really
say-
don't like it. Get it? You know?
Yeah. When I'm saying no, you are now like pushing. And,
Yeah.
and sorry, I forgot to, when I went on this recent trip, he introduced me to his mom.
Wow.
And even his mom just pulled me away, gave me her contact. And I said to him, I'm not going to call your mom. You know why? I don't want to deceive her, because you and I, there's nothing that's going to happen. So I don't know if I should have, told his mom, listen, this is what's going on, and said, this is the reason why I'm not going to communicate with you. But I just told him, I said, tell mom I'm not going to call her. And she's such a sweet lady.
Yeah.
And she even asked, she said, you both have been in each other's lives for a long time. How come I'm just meeting you? I said, well, ask your son. He seems not to have known what he wants.
Yeah.
So at that moment when I said, stop it, he got pissed off and then plays this thing of, oh, I just went to my pastor. My pastor says, if we end up together, we're going to be a disaster. Boy, you didn't know that? Like, you didn't know we're going to be a disaster all along, and you want to play this card?
You didn't get the memo, bro.
So at that point, I think very recently,
Yeah.
I didn't delete his number from my phone. Recently,
Yeah.
he said he reached out with a voice note telling me, "Oh, I just wanted to say hi. I saw your status. I guess that's why I remembered you." Oh, I helped him. At that point, I deleted his number so you don't get to see my status.
Exactly.
And then, sorry, one more thing. He reached out to my mom, saying, oh, I just wanted to check up on you. My mom, being that person who can be like a gist partner, said to me, hey, guess who called me? I said, who? Because I've been trying to like reconcile her and someone. So I thought that was the person that called her.
Yeah.
So I quickly picked up the phone and, called her. And she now told me, oh, Paul called. I know what he's playing. He knows that when I know he's reached out to my family, I'm going to flip.
Man.
So I did not even bother. I was very serious about no, because I have literally like deleted him from everywhere that I'm in all my social media channels and stuff like that.
Talk about a master manipulator. That's what this guy really is.
Yeah, for sure.
Thinking that we can worm his way in and out of situations and still have it come down his way.
Mm-hmm. And at the first instance, I heard, my mom said to me, oh, he called.
Yeah.
I was going to call him and say, Paul, if you call my mom one more time, I will call your mom and make her understand the true situation of things. But I had to catch myself and say, nope, if you're over this, don't bother.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, he's going to get the message.
Yeah.
And, back out. I mean, at the end of the day, he said that whole 10 years and 6 months, but guess who's getting married after meeting somebody for 6 months? Me.
Wow.
You're still trying to heal or whatever, or grow.
Yeah.
But I have moved on.
Yes.
So
yes. And it's and it's nice for you to have moved on like that.
Oh, of course.
And I guess there's a real lesson in that, in that you now recognize the importance of valuing your own time, which this man was not prepared to do.
I'm just grateful, honestly. And most of my friends who know the story are just so happy that I gave it up, because it almost felt like somebody was just tying some sort of rope to my throat and just saying it must work.
Yeah, no, that's because, like your lesson 2 says, you'd predetermined the future of the relationship and you were determined to make it happen.
Exactly.
Ooh, well, thank you for sharing your story, Chioma.
Thank you for listening.
For those who've listened to this episode, 3 main lessons came out. The first one being communicate all you want, but if the other end doesn't understand, it means absolutely nothing. And this is exactly what happened with Paul. And then the second one, which I feel is the most important out of all of these, is don't predetermine the future of a relationship. Just go with the flow, provided that you guys are on the same page. I can't confidently say that there was a point that I felt you guys were on the same page. And, this determination that you had to make it work just made you compromise so much over such a long period of time. So please, guys, if you feel that something ain't right, just leave it. And that leads us to lesson number 3, which is we all have bad sides. So if your partner brings out that side of you, then either work it out, or it's the manipulative side, leave it. And we've seen just how manipulative this guy became with you, with your friends, with your family, with your sisters. It just isn't right. Well, you've been listening to another episode of The Feeling Station. I'm your host, Tinto, and I look forward to catching you in next week's episode. Peace.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Sati zondaro raini and chake zaini.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Sati zondaro raini and chake zaini.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziro amai.
Kujidziro amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziro amai.